You were out there, you were in the Commons chamber for the debate, for the vote announcement, but also on the Commons terrace, watching and listening to what was going on. There is no doubt at all. I mean, humiliating U-turn after humiliating U-turn for this Prime Minister. This is a man in office and not in power. He is devoid of all authority now. He says he's taken his eye off the ball because he's been dealing with foreign stuff. This is a man who cannot multitask, it would appear. There's the humiliating U-turn and climb down, Sunday, Monday, we announced from Liz Kendall, the Work and Pension Secretary. She says in the Commons very clearly yesterday, that's as much as we're going to do. There will be no more changes to the bill. 90 minutes before the vote was due to take place, they still thought the rebellion was going to be so large, even with and again, it's like there's a working majority, there's a simple majority, but basically 166, around that figure is what they've got in terms of working majority, effective majority of 156. Stephen Timms, one of the welfare ministers, basically backtracks even more. So even though this bill is literally called the Universal Credit and Personal Independence Payment Bill, there is now nothing in that bill that actually changes anything in terms of who can and cannot claim and what the criteria are to claim PIP, personal independence payment. This was a humiliating defeat, wasn't it?
It was, and he should have seen this coming from last week when you had 120 or however many Labour MPs signing a letter stating that they were going to vote against it. So this should have come as absolutely no surprise at all. Why wasn't he speaking to those people earlier? Why did they not just do all of the consultation process first? And I think that if you're
going to have a plan before they came into government, he's had 4 years. We've known about this problem for at least 2. It's been top of the agenda.
Yeah, but I think that is largely his problem, is that they campaigned so hard to win an election. What they didn't plan for was to be in government. So they kind of rocked up on the 5th of July and went, now we actually have to do something. And they haven't quite worked out what it is they want to do, because Keir Starmer is devoid of any kind of strategy, personal philosophy, any kind of being good at politics, out of the window. He is a middle manager, in my opinion.
And not a very good one.
Not a very good one. One that you would just get rid of from the insurance company when you could.
Yeah.
So yesterday was catastrophic for the Labour Party. It really was. And just watching the chaos unfold, I mean, I do live for days like this, to be perfectly honest, because the politics of it was really, really interesting. In the afternoon, before any of the concessions had actually been given, Labour ministers and whips were out on the terrace looking for backbenchers to see if they could have a little chat with them, to see how they were going to vote. Is there anything that they could do? And I haven't seen that kind of operation for some time.
They're actually bothering to live. There's an element, isn't there, when you get a very big majority. This happened Friday. This Friday is the first anniversary of this massive big majority. I mean, 411 MPs were elected in July last year for Labour, and there is an element actually. You think, well, they can do anything they want. There's also an element where, you kind of get a free pass as a backbencher. The odds of you ever make it into government are probably pretty limited. Right now, looking at the polls, a lot of those MPs are going, I'm not going to get re-elected anyway. But you say, look, this is a disaster for the Labour Party. Well, no, these Labour backbenchers, this is a victory. I didn't get elected to cut welfare benefits for my constituents who vote for me because I encourage the government to spend other people's money on welfare benefits. The key thing about this is, if this is a Prime Minister who cannot convince his own party that the state of the public finances is such, and by the way, Labour and the Tory, Labour contributed to small matter of the economic crisis in 2008, 2009, which is the reason why Tories got in the first place. And all the things that happened since, lockdowns and all of that, Labour, they're up to the eyeballs in this as well. But if they genuinely don't think that we need to be cutting the welfare bill, which is ballooning off the scale, they are completely out of touch themselves. This idea that, you should consult with disability groups. Oh, disability groups say we don't want to cut disability benefits. Shocker. They would say that, wouldn't they? But the whole point of these reforms is not to cut benefits for people who are disabled. Yeah. It's to stop people who are not disabled, who do not need those benefits, from claiming those benefits. That is the issue. There are millions of people who should not be claiming these benefits, who are claiming these benefits, who don't really need them. That is the issue. But if you're going to immediately have someone sitting in a wheelchair who obviously does need financial help to live a worthwhile, good life, and we should absolutely be helping them to do so. That's what I pay my taxes for a civilised society with a welfare state. But if you're going to literally wheel out someone in a wheelchair every time and say this is awful, as opposed to a 20-year-old who just feels a bit anxious on a Monday morning, doesn't want to go to work, and therefore is claiming PIP, then we're never going to resolve this.
But we're not. And the Labour Party, in its sort of very finite structure, would always look to increase the welfare state. That's kind of what they're there to do.
Put everyone on the payroll.
Absolutely.
No, that's what it is. Put everyone on the payroll.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're claiming benefits, you're claiming welfare of any sort, why would you vote anything but Labour?
You wouldn't. The Tories were always looked at as the evil, nasty party whenever you start to make benefit changes. Ian Duncan Smith had this with universal credit, and I think he was on the right track.
Well, Labour didn't change anything and never pledged to change anything.
Exactly.
They said it was awful, but they've accepted it all.
Exactly.
I wonder why, because it was actually a really good reform.
But what they cannot understand is money has to come from somewhere. If you rule out tax rises...
Yes, the magic money tree.
Is that what it is?
So we go
shake it in the
you
corner.
go and shake that tree. No, those people over there, those wealthy people, the 1% who are already paying a third of all taxes in this country, those people are going to pay more. They're not going to leave the country. They're just going to keep happily paying more for people who aren't working. Of course they are.
I mean, it's hysterical. Whenever you say that to a Labour MP and say, but all of these people are leaving and they are projected to leave by the end of the year, and they just go, no, they're not.
I mean, they literally do.
They are.
And when taxes go up to a certain point, I mean, this is the thing. This isn't just about the abject failure of public policy.
Yeah.
A key platform of the so-called change that Keir Starmer said he would bring. It was fairly loose change. We weren't really sure what change it was, other than a small change in our pocket being taken in more tax rises, as we're expecting this autumn. But the key thing about the Prime Minister is that he said he's got the authority, he's got this massive majority. He claims he's got this big sort of mandate. I mean, just under 34% of the population. He has a democratic, electoral mandate. He doesn't have the moral mandate. He doesn't have the support of the people. But what this has really exposed is this is a Prime Minister who has, in my view, no policies, nothing he believes in, no strategy. He has no ideas. He had no plan. He's got no ideology, no philosophy, no moral mission about what he wants to do as Prime Minister. He's got no backbone. He's got no stomach for the fight. He's got no political insight, no instincts, no nous. He's got no management skills. He is, and I put this out last night, he's an empty suit. And he didn't even buy that suit himself. He got Lord Ali to buy that suit. And this is the thing, he's just an empty vessel. There is nothing there. He could just dissolve. If you poured water over him, Keir Starmer would dissolve. There's nothing there. He doesn't believe in anything. He doesn't stand for anything. He just wanted to be Prime Minister. It's another little line on his CV.
Yeah.
And there's no point to him. And these Labour backbenchers, they understand that. And they're like, I'm just going to get through whatever I can get through in the hope that I can keep my seat. Some of them, as wrong as I think they are on the welfare issue, and as wrong as I think they are on the tax issue, and as wrong as I think they are on many, many issues, at least have a purpose and have a cause and a moral mission.
Yes.
I think they are misguided in what they want to do, because I don't think putting everyone on the welfare payroll and expecting 3 billionaires to pay for everything is going to work out that well. But at least they stand for something.
Yeah.
But if you could think of it, I mean, there's a question. What does Keir Starmer stand for? I mean, other than for his tailor when he's being measured for another suit costing £6,000 paid for by his mate Lord Ali. But I mean, he doesn't stand for anything. And this has been exposed. And the U-turn after U-turn after U-turn that he's done, there's nothing there.
No, there isn't. And he's now got an emboldened set of backbenchers who are looking at it saying, well, what are you going to do with us? You're not going to sack us all, because then your working majority goes right down. We're never going to get a job anyway. Some of them know they're probably only going to be there for one term. So they've got nothing to lose, absolutely nothing to lose.
That's the thing.
And now they can push everything to this kind of vote again.
And here we go. We'll have the budget in the autumn, and Rachel Reeves got to find another £5 billion. That's the amazing thing. These reforms were pitiful anyway. They were only going to save maximum £5 billion a year. But one of the things that has been kept in, not the cutting of the costs and the number of people being able to claim, not even in the future, but and people now, but not even people in the future. They're going to have the Stephen Timms review, and there's no way at the end of this review they're going to say, yes, we should cut a load of claimants. They're just going to allow everyone to keep on going. Genuinely, if you decide you want to live on the payroll of everyone else, get your claims You've got a couple of years, no problem. Get your claims in now, because you're never going to be questioned on them. I mean, there's no question at all about that. But not only are we not going to save that £5 billion, is going to cost money, because one of the bits of the bill that did go through is actually more help for getting people back to work, which is a good thing, and I would encourage that. But there's no long-term plan to cut anything else, in which case, there we are in a situation where we're going to spend more money, but we haven't got more money coming in. Taxes are going to have to go up, or something else is going to have to be cut, and that's the reality.
And the chief spinner this morning, Pat McFadden, out on the media rounds, saying that there were going to be financial consequences. Well, there's your tax rises coming in. He's not even hiding it. That's what they're going to do.
But the backbench MPs think the financial consequences are always for those rich people over there. Yeah. They don't realise you actually can't pay for this scale of welfare and the defence spending, if and when that ever happens, and all the other things they want, pay rises for everyone in the NHS and every train driver. You can't do that without taxing ordinary working people more. That £5 billion, I mean, what's it, equivalent of 1% on basic income tax?
That's it.
That's a lot of money. And it's not 1 pence extra pay. You're paying a lot of extra money to pay for that. I mean, it is genuinely mind-blowing. That money is going to have to be found. Before we go to a break, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Calls already coming in, not surprisingly, 0344 499 1000. But also these figures that 20,000 small boat migrants arrived so far this year. That's the figures for January to June. It's another record. The smashing of the gangs not going as well as you'd think. That said, looking at Donald Trump visiting alligator Alcatraz in Florida, built in a few weeks. This is basically illegal migrants rounded up by ICE agents, and then before they're flown home, they put the outcry over this by the media. Oh, it's awful. This woman rounded up. Yeah, she arrived in the country 3 years ago. She's not here legally, so she has to leave. I mean, I don't know what's complicated about that. She knew the deal. But I mean, we are never going to get rid of these people, are we?
No, you're not. And that's the stark answer. What are you doing to send them back? Where are you sending them back? What negotiations have you made with the countries of origin, if you can find out who they are? None. Absolutely none. And smashing the gangs, it makes me angry so many times when I hear Labour backbenchers say, we're smashing the gangs, we're taking this very seriously, counter-terrorism powers for all.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Well, that's worked well, hasn't it? 20,000 crossings in 6 months. Yeah, but how's that gone? Not. And you just wonder at what point they have to admit that you need a deterrent.
And the deterrent is, I would say, alligator Alcatraz.
Where should we have that? In the Isle of Wight?
I mean, if they would have it, I'm thinking probably we probably go to somewhere, out of Hebrides, bit less helpful in terms of weather-wise.
Fewer crocodiles.
That's what we need. You come here, you're not working as an Uber rider, Uber Eats rider. You're not earning any money. You're not wandering the streets and harassing teenage girls in this country. I'm afraid, you're not sitting in an asylum hotel. I'm afraid you're in some very unpleasant conditions, prison-like. Why? Oh, because you're here illegally. And if you don't like it, feel free to tell us where you're from, get on a plane and bye-bye. It's the only thing. Forget Rwanda now, I'm not even interested in any of that. ECHR, forget all of that. We need wholesale. You are never free on our streets. End of, full stop. I think we'll find it will stop. Genuinely, I would happily take on that role. And happily take the grief for it. But I could have this solved in 2 months. I'm telling you, I could have this solved. Anyone would put their mind to it could have this solved in 2 months. But,
I'll be there with you.
But they don't have the will, because the people in charge believe in open borders.
Yeah, they do.
Fundamentally, they believe in open borders. They believe that anyone who gets the urge to get or pay a people smuggler to come to this country should have the same rights as the people who are here and who live here and who are citizens here. That's because they have a fundamental lack of understanding of what the nation state is about and what being a citizen is about. But there we are.